Change the time now. We're getting late.
Okay, let's go. Says the Gemara as follows. This is a fascinating example of where we left off. So we were up to 11b4.
Top of the page, 12A1.
Imay Muskarim, no, correct? No, that's why I'm looking at the wrong Adam Chashuv Shani. 12A1. Says the Gemara as follows. Marzutra Bereder of Nachman. Marzutra was the son of Nachman. He built himself a palace, built himself a mansion, a beautiful home. Chutz latchum. So remember, where is Chutz latchum? Outside of the area, outside of 2,000 amot, outside the city. Okay? So the Gemara says, Ikla Rav Safra v'Rav Huna bar Chinena. So they built it for him on Shabbat, non-Jews, that he had a contract to do the house. In other words, he didn't say work on Shabbat. He didn't say get it done before the deal deadline in June. He just said, I'm paying you $1 million to build my house.
This is a regular guy, not in Avil, doing Chol Moed. Are we talking about that?
Joe, you're asking the $64 million question.
Because you didn't say nothing.
Because there's a huge machloket what the case is over here. Maybe he was a mourner. Maybe it was Chol HaMoed. Maybe it was Shabbat. Maybe. The simple understanding is that we're talking about on Shabbat. So he gave them, he said, Giovanni and Sons, Italians, here's the contract. I'll see you whenever. You build a house for me, $1 million. Now, non-Jew, is he allowed to work on Shabbat?
Yes.
Sure. So it's got nothing to do with him. I'm Jewish. I didn't tell the guy to work on Shabbat. I don't care if he works on Shabbat. I don't need it after Shabbat. All I did was, I said, build me a house. So the non-Jew's allowed to do that.
No time frame.
What did we say? What did we say was the constraints of that? Outside not in the tchum.
Yeah.
Or if it's outside the tchum, right? Not on Chol HaMoed. Okay? Right. So what are we talking about over here? Simply stated, we're talking about Shabbat. So on Shabbat, Chutz Latchum, he built this palace. Is that kosher?
Yeah.
Kosher. Ikla Rav Safra Rav Huna bar Chinena. This is not referring to me.
Safra, that's why.
See what I did there? Ikla Rav Safra v'Rav Huna bar Chinena. Rav Safra Rav Huna bar Chinena went to this house, this palace. But they did not go into the house. They would not even walk in. Why?
Because it was built on Shabbat.
And it was built, even though it was workers, and the workers were hired. The workers were hired to do it bikibolet, in a contract. In other words, not being paid by the day, not being commanded to work on Shabbat.
Right, the day.
Since it was not a day worker, since it was a real contract on the whole house, allowed to. But when they went, they would not walk in. Why not? We'll see why in a second. What Gemara is going to ask. Ikadamri makes it worse. One opinion says, it wasn't these two rabbis that wouldn't walk in to the house. Ikadamri hu nami lo al begaveh. That Marzutra, the guy who had the house built, wouldn't go into his own house. He refused to benefit from this house. The Gemara says, hold on. The Gemara that we just learned in the name of Shemuel said, Mekable kibolet, you receive a contract, betoch hatchum, asur. Chutz latchum, mutar. If you have a contract inside the tchum to non-Jews on Shabbat, asur. Outside the tchum, mutar. Right? So therefore, how come either these rabbis or the other opinion, Marzutra wouldn't walk into the house? Everything seems kosher. We're missing something. What are we missing? The Gemara answers, Adam Chashuv Shani. That's why I said I got the wrong, because I found the Adam Chashuv Shani, the wrong one. An important person is different.
Oh, we went to the higher level.
Since he's a rabbi, what if people looked at him? What if people thought? What if Marzutra said, I'm out? Or the rabbi said, we're out. We're not going in, because maybe they didn't realize Chutz Latchum, maybe they didn't.
Optional. That's not the rule, though. That's his level of doing it.
No, it's the rule for someone of that level.
Right. Okay.
You got it? It's the rule for someone that's on a level of chashuv. So they felt, we don't want to go in, it's not appropriate. Where do we find an example of this? The Gemara says, what is Chilul Hashem?
Dirty shirt for a Talmid Chacham.
That's a good example. The Gemara is that's not the answer though. The Gemara doesn't say, the Gemara says, if Kegon Ana, like me, if I walk 4 amot and I don't have tefillin on, Do you have to walk the whole day with tefillin on? No. But he says, for someone like me, if someone sees me without tefillin, someone sees me without tefillah, without prayer or Torah, well, you're just walking in the street, you're not learning Torah? Chayil Hashem. Gemara says another one, the rabbi says, if someone sees me, leave the butcher, I put the thing on my tab, but they don't see me pay.
Oh, wow.
High level, no good.
You're a rabbi, what, you just walked out? The guy's going to think, what is he doing?
You're allowed.
Yeah.
No good.
The Gemara says, it depends. But in Mechuzah, it's allowed. Why? In Mechuzah, everyone had, it's like a bill system.
Oh, because
So it's understood, exactly. So you see that again, we're understanding that the level of what we're expecting of somebody, it depends on two elements. One is how big of a Talmid Chacham is he, okay? How beyond reproach must he be? And secondly, what is the custom and context that he's doing it within? Will that look bad? So these rabbis felt, look, I understand it's chutz latchum. What happened if somebody saw me? Chutz latchum is only works because there's nobody there.
How come that wasn't mentioned at all at the beginning when we talked about doing the whole building things and doing things? And
Yeah.
we said that it's based on the average guy. And we talked about that?
Yeah, so that's the,
So-
one more time. That's the halacha.
Halakha, okay.
So we're giving you the halacha. It doesn't say over here that they were saying that this is the halacha for anybody.
That's what I'm saying.
The Gemara just that they didn't go in.
Right.
Ask the Gemara why. Is that a universal item? It's the Gemara. No, it's not universal. It was just for them. It's not for you. It's not for me.
Who got
Okay.
the Apadna?
Mazutra. Oh, you mean after he wouldn't walk in? So I had an interesting idea.
Would you be allowed to take it?
I had an interesting idea. No, he's allowed to own it.
But now he's going to sell it.
He just felt like he couldn't go in. But since Adam Chashuv Shani, right?
Right.
The first answer to the Gemara is that it was only for Adam Chashuv. He could sell it to any regular guy.
Is there a guy allowed?
Because it's not asur for a regular guy.
Right.
So it doesn't say it's asur b'hana'ah.
On the cheap.
But then
So
he's-
Ramazut, no,
But then-
not on the cheap. Because the majority of buyers
buy it.
are not Adam Chashuv.
but he's profiting from
If it was in the super religious area, what?
he's profiting from
No problem. It doesn't say you're not allowed to profit. It's a mutar. It's allowed.
don't even know when we're talking about it.
Judo to say it's not good enough for my rabbi, but it's good enough for me.
No.
I don't hold to that
No,
standard.
no. So when it's a halacha, yes. I can't say this is what my rabbi holds, but I disagree.
So you know the
But
halacha, you
everybody understands that there are things that the rabbi does that are over and above what he's ruling is mutar.
So that happens a lot on Shabbat with things like,
Hold on. Simplest example, go.
Good one. You're on the Passover trip.
Oh, I thought you were going to give me the one we did in the shul. Go ahead.
You're on the Passover trip. After shul on Saturday. A lot of times, the religious guys, because you use that word, they don't go to the beach on Saturday. Even modest sitting, even doing, because it's not in the spirit of the Shabbat for them. But for everybody else, it's okay. The halakha says you can go out and sit there, relax on the side, but some people don't do it.
There you go. Perfect example.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
You're going deeper.
Yeah. I was giving you
your example?
I was giving you one that I gave in the shul.
That's one we relate.
There's one I actually gave in the shul just recently. I talked about the idea that Chamovadia says, everyone says, Chamovadia says that after you wash Nitilat Yadayim, before you eat the bread, you don't have to not talk. You're allowed to talk. A lot of people say Chamovadia. Chamovadia says you could talk. Open up Chamovadia.
He's splitting the beracha from
Go look at what Chamovadia says.
Here's the soul.
Chamovadia says a person should not talk. A person should keep quiet. Not only should a person keep quiet, he should do it as quickly as he can. However, Chamovadia says, if you talked, you don't have to wash again. It's not asur. It's not asur. Right. But Chamovadia doesn't encourage people to talk about the Yankees. Hayav Adam ledaber al haskor shel haNicks. It doesn't say that.
better not to do it that way.
He says better hadith, but the way they present it. Now, let's say I'm a rabbi. Someone asked me, Rabbi, how come you don't talk after hamotzi? I'm like, No. I'm like, what do you mean? Why don't I talk after hamotzi? Because that's what you're supposed to do. He says, but I thought you were allowed. I said, you're allowed. What are you supposed to do? Nothing. You're supposed to not talk. So there's a difference between what you're supposed to do and what you're allowed to do.
Why is Mar Zutra living outside the Techum?
Sorry?
Why was Mar Zutra living outside the Techum?
He just has a mansion outside the tchum. He's living that thug life.
He can't live it.
Okay.
There's a difference. Okay, we
Yeah,
that.
okay, so good. So one more time. So again, I'm allowed to have, as a rabbi, I'm allowed to be stricter on myself on certain things.
You can do that on everything.
Correct. Yes, correct. Okay. Says the Gemara. So chutz latchum mutar. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says that. Yeah.
With the tefillin, doesn't it give the wrong idea for what's right and what's supposed to be practiced? Meaning they say, oh, you weren't wearing your tefillin, you took 4 amot, you weren't wearing your tefillin.
Right.
But technically, it's just not the correct practice to wear tefillin all day.
So the correct practice is to do a mitzvah and all times that you could do the mitzvah. We don't do it because we're thinking about that, doing that, going to work. Guys are Talmid Chacham. They're rabbis now that wear tefillin all day.
Really?
Yeah. They take it off. They have to go to the bathroom. They take it off. They have to do something other than. But they wear tefillin all day.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So this rabbi was saying, for someone like me, if I'm wearing, people are like, what kind of thing is this? Imagine, by the way, you saw Chamovadia, and he's wearing shorts and a tank top. It's just not.
Not him.
But it's not. It's not. Yeah, it's not appropriate. Of course, I just imagine the tank top that has black with the gold item, which is no sleeves and no bottom. Right? Yeah, but that's not appropriate, right? Why is not appropriate? Because at a certain level, we go higher. Okay. So the Gemara says. So that's first of all. So the question was, are you allowed? Why did they not walk in if it's allowed, according to what we just taught from Shemuel? The answer is because they were higher level, but anyone else will be allowed. Amar Rav Papa says, even if outside the tchum, lo amaran, maybe the reason is why it was forbidden is because we said that there's no cities next to it. Maybe it was chutz l'tchum, right? But if there's a city that's next to it, another city, then it's asur. So one more time. Let's say I'm in Deal. 2,000 amot outside of Deal, right, is a space Allenhurst. I'm now not in Deal anymore. Yeah, but the Allenhurst people are in Allenhurst. Or the people next to Allenhurst are next to the tchum of outside of Deal. So if you're still within 2,000 amot of Jewish population, someone might walk past this Jewish property and see people working on the property and think to themselves, oh, the guy hired them to work on Shabbat. He hired them as a schiyom. He doesn't know what kind of contract you made with them. Exactly. So therefore, the Gemara says, so maybe what we're worried about was the reason in this case why he wouldn't go in was because even though it was out of the tchum of one place, it was inside the tchum of another place. Asur. Okay. Gemara says, Amar Mishashi says.
Wait, Scar, I think you went back.
Halakha?
We're on 1282, no?
Yeah.
I went back.
That was, the part with the city next door was the story before.
Vikadami, sorry. Vikadami, another answer, by the way, perfect answer to this question. That answer. Perfect answer to this question. No, Stana, Jonah. Perfect answer to this question. Why is Chutz L'Tchum Asur? Answer is, no, there was another city that was next to it. Perfect answer. That can't be an answer. We'll see why in just a second. V'ikadami, another opinion says, Sayu esayad betivna ba'adayu. No, the reason why it was asur is because Marzutra, he gave them extra hay. He gave them straw to be able to use to make cement or to be able to make the bricks or whatever. Since Marzutra was pulling a pharaoh, right? He was getting them the straw. Since Marzutra did that, now it doesn't look like you have a deal with them. Oh, just build the house. Looks like you're involved. Looks like they're working for you. Not like they're working for themselves. Okay? So since that would be the case, even if my deal with them was a year-long deal, was a contract on the house, when I helped them, I made it look like I have the other kind of a deal with them. Okay? So therefore, that was why it was asur. Now, the commentators point out something very interesting. Commentators say, 1 second. But if he did this and he gave it to them, he gave them this materials for building, which means that he doesn't have a contract with them to build the house on their terms, right? How was they allowed to work on Shabbat? I understand that afterwards. Remember, the second opinion is that says that he didn't go in the house. He's a rabbi, Marzutra. Why did he think they were allowed to work on Shabbat? On that, the Gemara answers, he didn't think that. He didn't have in mind whatsoever that they would work on Shabbat.
Let's finish it next year.
He said finish it, whatever, finish it whenever you finish it. But they went ahead and they did it on Shabbat.
Giovanni doesn't know.
This guy, no, but Mazutra would have not wanted it. But now he found out Mazutra is going the extra mile, and he's like, you know something, I don't want to be involved. Okay? Now, the Gemara continues. Rav Chama shar lehu abnugri deberesh guluta. Rav Chama allowed the people that were dealing with the waiters, the wait staff of the Resh Giluta. Who's the Resh Giluta? We mentioned already is the Nasi, the president of the Jews, Yani, who was always a great grandson of David HaMelech. He came from the line of kings. He allowed them, he always had many guests over. So he allowed them, he allowed them to do their work. What was the work of the stewards of the table, of the waiters? To fix the tables, to put them together, right, exactly. Put the napkin underneath one leg. Amar, Kivan da'agar lo kashakli. What, they're allowed to do their work. Since they don't take pay, rather, what do they get paid as?
Salary.
They just get to eat. The pay for their work is that they get to eat at the tables. Since that's the case, they're not taking wages, they're not taking pay. They're only gaining an extra benefit, they're not getting paid. The language of ishtarshe, that language means like I'm saving money. Money I would have had to spend on this, I now don't have to spend. But I didn't make any money. I got a benefit in kind. Okay? So therefore, it's not a problem. Now, just let's, 1 second, come out of this new little piece, and I want to understand what's going on over here. What were they doing? They were fixing the tables, but they were being used for the Moed. What's the problem? Why do we have to have a whole answer for this? The answer is, we don't. The work is mutar, 100%. The problem is, if you're doing mutar, and you're doing it for pay on Chol HaMoed, that's already something called uvda dechol, work of the weekday.
Let's say they were.
You're not allowed to get paid. Sorry?
Let's say they were the salary for the year.
What do you mean?
If they were just an employee, they get paid, do work for them for the year. It's not an hourly and it's not a weekly paycheck.
It doesn't matter, but I'm getting paid for today.
It would be allowed.
Am I getting paid for
Let's
today?
say he gave them a check for $50,000 in day one and they worked the whole year.
But let's say I don't come today. What would happen?
It's, I don't know, they had sick days.
So, but that means that sick days are translated to money.
PTO.
Well, you got that?
Yeah.
Sick days, there's a monetary value to
Day
that.
without work.
So what that means is that if I had to use one of my sick days, it means that I'm getting paid by the day.
Yes, but not working.
So if the guy is ambivalent if I come or don't come, but I happen to be there and I happen to help him and I don't make any money and it doesn't make a difference and I would not have lost the sick day, no problem.
Even though getting paid in food is like getting paid?
Yes. Why? Because getting paid in food, it's not a salary.
Yeah.
Right? Now, by the way, let's say the guy had a whole item. What depends on what you eat. If you eat a steak, it's $12 off your bill. You eat this, then of course it translates as money. But if he's just saying, look, help me out, and then you'll eat with us. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a salary. Since it's not a salary, I'd be allowed to do it on Chol Hamoed. Now, to be clear, take the salary part out. Let's say he's not getting paid at all. No problem. This is melacha, which is a person's allowed to do. The Gemara continues.
Allowed to fix the tables and
Yeah, because you're fixing it for a need on Chol Hamoed.
yeah,
Okay.
like a lot of other things.
Yes. And by the way, we even talked about making the tables. Never mind fixing them,
Bench.
right? Every time we talked about the bench, you're not allowed to build it, but you're allowed to fix it. Oh, even you're allowed to build it for Chol Hamoed.
Not a new one.
Here we're just talking about fixing them. Tana Rabbanan, the Gemara says, but conversely, Joe, conversely, we just learned the big chidush. What's the chidush?
Exchange.
Conversely, we learned that even though it's not work and it's allowed, you still can't get paid for it. You hear the chidush now.
Yeah, no paying on Chol Hamoed.
Right.
hire
Yeah.
anybody.
No pain and no gain. Okay. Says the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan. The Gemara, we learned in the Braita. A person's allowed to have a contract with someone who's not Jewish for after. You're allowed to write up and make the deal now for what's going to happen after Chol Hamoed. Ube Moed asur. But if a person is writing up a contract for them to do work on the Moed, then it's asur. Gemara says, the Braita says, Kililo shel davar, what's the rule of this halacha? Koshu oseh, anything that you're allowed to do, omer lanochri, you're allowed to tell the non-Jew to do. Eno oseh, anything that you're not allowed to do, eno omer lanochri ve'oseh, you can't tell the non-Jewish person, and then he'll do it. Okay? So,
Say that,
That's interesting.
whatever you can do, you can tell the non.
whatever I'm allowed to do, I'm allowed to tell him to do. Whatever I'm not allowed to do, I'm not allowed to tell him to
He
do.
raises a condition, a non-Jew. He moves up a notch.
What do you mean?
He can't do it, because you can't do it, then he's a non-Jew. A Chol Moed. You just said the non-Jew can't do it, because you can't do it. Right? You just said that, right?
No. See, if I'm being very careful, that's not what I said. Watch. I didn't say the non-Jew's not allowed to do it. I said, if I'm not allowed to do it, I'm not allowed to tell him to do it. That's very different than what he does. He's allowed to do whatever the heck he wants. But if I can't do it,
Replace what you
exactly,
do.
it's very different.
Very different.
Yeah, see?
He's doing it for you.
That's why-
Because he's replacing you.
That's why I differentiate
So
it.
in other words, hit the elevator button for
You
me.
can.
Right.
That would be
If
no
I'm not allowed to push
He's
it,
gotta
I
do
can't
it
tell him
without
to do
telling
it.
him.
Exactly.
Moed Goy.
Moed Goy, exactly.
No, but he could do it. If you don't say anything, he does it. Okay, but if
I
you can't
really
tell
want to
him,
go upstairs.
so you can't tell a chedem on Shabbat.
No. This is,
Tell.
we just went from
But
here
telling him.
to here. Tell, hint, this, that, for their benefit, not
I
benefit.
don't talk to the chedem anyway.
Okay.
I don't even deal with the chedem.
All right.
I don't know.
Says the Braita. But remember, Jonah, I told you, you asked me about telling the goy to do it. I told you we're going to get to it. This is that Gemara. Okay?
Whatever you can't do, you cannot ask
Tell him to
them
do it.
Exactly. And that's what the Braita just said. You're allowed to make a contract with him to work after the Moed, but you can't make a contract with him to work on the Moed. Right? Now, by the way, this is very interesting. Because why would I think that I can't enter into a contract with him to work after the Moed? He's working the weekday.
Because you're preparing, your mind is off the holidays for preparing for work for after the
So
holidays.
that's what I would have thought. That's what I would have thought the Gemara was wondering about. But that's not what it says. Look at this. This is wild. And once you hear it, it's like, oh, okay, I understand. Look at this. Rashi says, Mikabli kibolet notna lenochri la'asotal achar moed. You give it to them to be able to do it afterwards. Okay? So it doesn't say that you're writing a contract. It just says that you're telling the guy to do the work. Okay? Now, if there's no contract involved, so what have I done over here? So here's the thing. This is very interesting. What we're worried about is, let's say I go to my guy. Hey, Giovanni. I only talk to Giovanni, and I only eat in reserve cut in the Gemara class. Okay?
Yeah, we have standards here.
Giovanni, right? On Wednesday, after the holiday's over, I need you to build me an item, whatever. I need you to...
Backboard to the basketball.
What does Giovanni say? I'm free today. Maybe you're not allowed to contract him on Moed because he might just do it, jump the gun.
Yeah, because he doesn't know the difference.
So the Mishnah Braita is telling you, I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to make the contract. Why? Because I didn't ask him to do it. I asked him to do it afterwards. What happens now if he did it on the Moed?
No good.
Do you have to stop him or not? Machloket, if you have to stop him. Most opinions hold, you don't have to stop him.
Because he did it on his own.
He did it on his own will. Yeah. Now, if there's techum, if there's other things involved that might have people think then maybe yes. But without those conditions, the very fact that I just told you to do something, but I told you to do it afterwards, I don't have to worry you're going to do it now. Why? That's your issue, not my issue. So that's what the Braita is telling you, that you're allowed to do that. However, the Braita then stipulates anything I'm not allowed to, but I can't tell you do it now. Why? Because I'm not allowed to do it now. That's what the Braita is stipulating. Okay, let's continue. The Braita continues. Tanya, we learned another Braita. You're allowed to enter into a contract. We said for after the holiday. The guy can't measure. He can't weigh the materials. He's not counting how many screws he needs. In the same way that the guy would do in the during the weekday. Now, what are we talking about?
Who?
We're talking about in the process of making the contract.
You, the Jew.
What does the Jew have to do? What does the Jew have to do? The Jew has to say, here, I have 19 suits to clean. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Don't
5.
clean them now.
Yeah. No, we're talking about doing it for after the holiday. Right? Doing it after the holiday. So you're allowed to do that, we said. Says the Braita, hold up. You're allowed to do that. But I want that the contract you make with him, okay, the deal you make with him, should not be done in a way where you're engaging in a practice of business right now, even though the job is going to get done after. So when you go to the cleaners and you're counting out every pair of pants, it's like I gave it to you now, even though I told you to do it later. I don't want you measuring, I don't want you counting. If you give him a pile of clothes and you say, deal with these after the holiday, no problem. But if you're counting 14 pants, 6 suits, Giovanni's cleaners, Fadal, right? These guys own the town, right? Then the halacha is, then you can't do that on the holiday, okay? Shelo yimneh, shelo yishkol, right? That kind of thing, we want it to be done a little bit different, okay?
So this is that a shinoi like we learned before with the sewing and the stitching?
Jumped around.
Sorry?
Is making.
Where'd you lose me?
We're on 12A.
12A3.
Right after
Skip the,
I skipped nothing.
No, skipping. Is that manner a shinui?
Huh?
Is that manner a shinui? The contract being like general and not specific?
So I think that's more than a shinui. You know why? Because a shinui would be count the items with your left hand.
Backwards.
Yeah. Guesstimate.
So it's like a general.
Here, no, we're saying that the process of measuring, of counting out the objects is itself like work. Okay? And you really, the fact that he's going to do his bit later doesn't mean that I'm allowed to do this part on Chol Hamoed.
contributing to the whole job. You're a big part of the job.
We're not talking about signing anything.
Being a contract.
That's why I brought that Rashi.
You're big
No
in the
Tanah.
job.
It gives him work to do. Yeah.
big in the job.
Signing the contract would be a whole other item because there's a question about writing on Chol Hamoed. So we're not even going there. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, writing. Well, the halacha is ideally a person's supposed to write with their left. Remember, writing is a melacha on Shabbat. Right? So, Chol Hamoed, we say melachota asur unless there's a reason to make it mutar.
Right. If you're going to have a loss, you're doing business.
Right. So now, why should I be allowed to write if there's no reason? Halacha is I'm not allowed. I should sign a check on Chol Hamoed, left hand. Yeah. Even today, it says Chol
You're
Hamoed.
in business.
Yeah, I do that. Especially today.
That's out of act.
Today I was writing for my class. I was writing in my right hand. Agony. Okay. But the other day I signed a check for an item. I looked at my wife afterwards. I was like, if I dispute this charge, I'm winning. I signed that like a 1-year-old, by the way. And the amazing thing is, it shows on my card my signature.
Right.
And then on the thing, it looks like a kindergarten scroll. I don't know what. Yeah. Okay. Says Gemara. So it should not be done kederech shu oseh bachol, in the same way that you do it during the weekday. Gemara continues. Tanu Rabbanan, en marbiim behema becholosh moed. You're not allowed to. What they would do is, in order to be able to have the animals to have children, they would mount the steed or the stallion on the whatever on the animal. This was a stud horse, I think they call it, right? In order to be able to have the horse or the foal or whatever, and then they would sell it. Okay, so but they would get involved. They didn't wait for the horse to meet on J Day or on H Day, right?
They helped it along.
What?
They helped it along, you say.
They helped it along. So in marbi'in be'ema b'chol shemed, you can't arrange for this to be done, right, on Chol Hamoed. Ki yotzeh bo, same thing. In marbi'in be'bechor v'lo b'sulei hamikdashim. You also are not allowed to do the same thing with regards to a bechor and not an animal also that was designated as a korban, but has now become invalid because it has a mum or whatever the case, it has a blemish. So the person is also not allowed to have that level of involvement. Now, each one of these cases is for a different reason. Okay, the reason of Chol Hamoed is because that this is part of your work. If you sell animals, so arranging for the baby, for the thing to impregnate the things, right? The bull to pregnate the cows, right? That's your work. Okay. The other guy, the Bechor, you're not allowed to do it because it's Kodesh. The other one, Psulei Mikdashim, has a halacha with regard to Psulei Mikdashim that they're not also Yiruach Yistavu. So there's also a certain halacha with regards to those things. So therefore also I'm not allowed to do it with regards to Psulei Mikdashim. Gemara says, Tanya Idach, but again, you see the same idea of not doing that thing which is work. Now again, I might not have thought, why is this work? What am I doing? Right? What am I doing? The animals are doing the work. But because this is what you do. This is your trade. You sell animals. So you make sure that this happens. So if we're telling everyone to stop work on Chol Moed, this is your work. Okay? Gemara continues. Tanya Idach, we learn the Braita. In Marbi'im Behema, B'cholosh HaMoed. You're not allowed to do?
So why doesn't this fall under the rule that if you don't have a loss, you shouldn't be doing the work?
Sorry?
Lower bar,
Yeah.
you're not losing, can't do it.
Same halacha.
No, but why they're moving it to they're saying, they're showing an example of a guy he's in the animal business and he's getting involved with the animals.
So is he allowed to do it or not? So same halacha as always.
No, he's not allowed. Yeah.
So what's your question?
So they're talking about the same.
So it's
simple
not
reason not allowed.
It's
the obvious is not
so
allowed.
it's exactly. It's not davar avid. No, the hidush over here is I didn't build a wall. I didn't use a hammer. I didn't dig a thing. Choresh, kotzer, this, that, malacha. What did I do? I brought the animal here. They're doing all the work. So what did I do? I did nothing. But since that is what your work is, so that was asur. Now, interestingly enough, as you said, it should follow the same guidelines of loss versus benefit. Says the Gemara, Tanya Idach, in Marbi Me'emam Cholosh Omer, you can't bring the animals one to the other in order to have baby on Chol Moed. Let's say you have a donkey, and the donkey has its time when it's ready to mate, right? Marbina loves Zachar. You're allowed to bring the male animal to the donkey. Why? Since she only gives birth during that time, to miss that time, davar aved. Exactly. So exactly same halacha. Shar kol habehemot, when it comes to other animals, machnisin otan lebekarot. You just bring the animal into the stables, and then the she animal, right? Then the animal every day takes care of itself. Specifically with the donkey, that's not going to be enough. Okay. So since that's the case, it will be davar aved. Okay. So what would be with other animals? With other animals, you would not be allowed to take a more active part of making sure it happens because there's an easier way to do it, which is just to bring it into the corral or bring it into the stable. Things will take care of itself. Okay. With regards to the donkey, however, a person needs to be able to do it
more involved.
Because otherwise it might happen that he'll lose the window. Very similar to what we talked about. Like if you don't plant now, you're going to lose the season's crops. Remember with the field of flax. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. In Medairin, a person is not allowed to bring a dayar, which means to take animals and bring them all to a certain area. Why are you bringing all the animals to that one area? Because if I make them live in this area, they don't have a running water and a toilet. So where are they going to the bathroom? All over this field. That manure will actually cause the field to become fertilized. Lo b'shabbatot, v'lo b'yamim tovim, v'lo b'cholosh moed. I can't do it on Shabbat or holiday or cholosh moed to pen them in. What does that mean? I bring them all in and I close the gate. So closing the gate keeps them there, which then the act of closing the gate is effectively fertilizing the field. Because otherwise, where would they go? Anywhere. Okay? However, but if let's say a person has non-Jewish workers and they came with their animals and they brought their animals into the Jewish person's area and they closed the animals in, no problem. Why? Because it's like a contract. I didn't have a deal with the guy to do it now. I just have a deal with him that he should manure my field. The guy happens to be bringing his animals to do so on Shabbat. Chol Moed. Very similar to the case we talked about with contract. And we do not help them in moving the animals or penning the animals in, closing the gates. And we don't bring a shomer from our people, our workers, to help them with their job. Why? Oh, for the same reason. Because the whole point why he's allowed to do it is because he's not hired by you, and he's not working for you. You have a contract with him on a job, but he doesn't work for me, so he can do whatever he wants. The minute I'm letting my chedameh watch the animals, what is it saying? He's working for me, I'm involved. Therefore, I can't do it on Shabbat. Haya Sachir Shabbat, Schir Chodesh, Schir Shana, Schir Shavua. What if the guy was paid by the week, by the month, by the year, or even by the whole Shemitah, 7 years? Misayin oto. Then you're allowed to help him. And in that case, you're able to give them one of your workers to help if it happens on Shabbat. Let's take a look.
First case.
Sorry?
What's the first case scenario that you're not allowed to help?
When the person is coming, when the non-Jewish person is coming, just me'elehen. They take their animals, they bring it to my field, they're locking it in.
On their own.
On their own.
No money.
It doesn't work for me. Yeah, the guy, as an example, he has his animals, he doesn't want to run after them. So he sees an area that's closed, he brings his sheep there.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I don't mind. I'm very happy about it. Okay. Says the Gemara. Let's just look at Rashi for 1 second. Rashi says, take a look. En misayinotam. You see that? En misayinotam. Rashi about halfway down the page. La behema lebo b'sadeh. I don't help him bring the animals in. Or if there's non-Jews that are bringing in the animals, en misayin lahem lahasiyan makon laakon kadesh tezavel kol hasadeh afilu bibayim ma'atzmam. Even if the non-Jew comes by himself with all his animals, I don't then take the non-Jew and say, listen, you were here for an hour, come over here to this field. I'm moving them to my next business opportunity. What if the guy works by the week, by the Shemitah, by the year? Misayin. Then you're able to. Why? Since the person has a deal to be able to, to manure it this entire time, right? And it's a long contract for, as we said, for a week, for a month, for a year, for however long. So since in that case, where it's a long contract, and I'm able to do whatever I want, the fact that my worker is involved with him doesn't change the reality at all. Why? The guy has a 7-year contract. He could come on any day of the week. So long as my worker is not actually doing anything wrong, the fact that it's helping him is not a problem because they have such a long contract that it doesn't make it seem unseemly. Okay. Rabbi Omer, okay? So we just said that if they come by themselves, Rabbi Omer, b'Shabbat b'Tovah, if the person came in on Shabbat b'Tovah, he's allowed to come in as a favor, or to do out of goodwill. B'Yom Tov mizonot, but on Yom Tov, right? So on Shabbat, if they come in, you're allowed. The non-Jew is allowed to expect a favor, but not pay. Okay? So he's doing it b'tovah. Like, I'm going to bring my animals here, and I'll scratch your back. I know that today's your Shabbat. I'm bringing all these animals here, right? They're pooping all over your field. It's fantastic for you. So, you owe me one. You owe me one, yeah. You're allowed to do a tovah, a favor, okay? But you can't pay. B'yom tov mizonot, but on the holiday, you're able to give them food, similar to what we saw by the table guys, okay? But also not money. B'moed b'sachar. When it comes to Chol HaMoed, already it's a lower level than Shabbat and Yom Tov, then he's already allowed to pay the guy to come and bring his animals to do fertilize the field.
He didn't initiate it, so that's the key.
Excellent. If he initiated it, not allowed. You're hiring him for work.
Anyway.
Since the guy came already, I'm allowed to now. Even if the guy says, you know something, I want you to pay me. I brought my animals here. You're allowed to say, sure, thank you. Yeah. You know why? Because again, there wasn't an isur to do this. It was just asur for me to ask you to do this.
So you could do a favor, you could even pay him on Chol HaMoed.
Even paying on Chol HaMoed. Yes. Amar Rabbi Yosef says, Hilchita ki Rebbe. The halacha is like Rebbe with regards to these halachot. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.
Okay.